Hi everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be talking to you today about the first half of May and the new moon that we have coming up in Taurus on the 15th. Now, May is also a very dynamic month. We thought we'd seen the last of the Uranus-Pluto square, moving away from a tight square in April, but Mars is coming in to essentially re-energize that Uranus-Pluto square through May, because in the early part of the month, Mars is coming together with Pluto quite tightly to square Eris, and then from the 15th onwards, it's coming into a very tight square with Uranus and aspecting that for the rest of the month. So it's pulling back this revolutionary energy of the Uranus-Pluto square. Now, Mars and Pluto together at 23-21 of Capricorn, squaring Eris at 21 of Aries. This is tremendously useful for focus, for setting goals, for achieving them, for energy, willpower, determination, see it through to the end. So it's excellent for moving projects ahead. So see where that 21 of Capricorn is falling in your chart. It's also particularly good if you're working on projects that are going to elevate your consciousness, spiritual projects of any kind, because the impetus of Eris is always to move us upwards in our spiritual evolution. Then when we get to the 12th and 13th of the month, this becomes very interesting because we have Mars moving into a much closer square with Uranus at that point, but Mercury is also coming together with Uranus. So this is fantastic for originality, brilliant thinking, out-of-the-box thinking, problem-solving, creativity. It's where you almost feel connected to the mind of God. You have these flashes of insight. Now, if you have anything round about 28, 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, you may particularly feel this because Mercury and Uranus are at 28, 29 of Aries at that point, with Mars at 28, 29 of Capricorn. So it is fantastic energy for innovation. Really good for that. So see where Mars is falling in your chart, late Capricorn, then going into Aquarius, and see where Uranus is falling. Now, something interesting to say about Mars, by the way, this Mercury-Mars square can be a little bit sort of quick to speak before you think. So really think before you speak, because there can be sharp words or angry words before you've really thought things through. That's always the case when you have a Mars-Mercury square. It's particularly when Mercury is in Aries. It's even more the case when Mercury is conjunct Uranus, because there's a quickness to the communication. So be very aware of that. But in other ways, it can really help you be brilliantly original in your work, as I say. So a very important time of creativity. Now, this is very interesting because we're going to have this square between Mars and Uranus effectively for the second half of May. It becomes exact on the 15th, 16th, because Mars and Uranus come into an exact square at 29 of Capricorn, 29 of Aries. That's quite an unstable square because it's they're both at the critical degree, the last degrees of the signs, and that can be particularly assertive. But it can also bring about new ways of doing things, revolutionary new ways of doing things. Things that you've done the same way or the world has done in the same way for a very long time can suddenly make a quantum leap in the way things happen. It can be connected to cyber wars. It can be connected to fighting for equality, fighting for the underdog. And as Mars moves into Aquarius on the 15th, 16th, that is even more the case because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus has a strong connection to youth as well. So this idea of fighting for equality on the part of youth particularly may come through strongly. And so Mars is moving into Aquarius on exactly the same day that Uranus is moving into Taurus. So we're going to have quite a shift in the energy. Now, I've got an awful lot to say about Uranus moving into Taurus because this only happens once every 84 years. So I'm actually making a separate video on that whole theme, but I'll touch a little bit on what that may mean in this video. So this square between Mars and Uranus is very dynamic. It's very assertive, it's very forward driving, it's very future oriented, and it can bring in a tremendous amount of innovation, particularly in things like technology. It's not only going to be exact 15th, 16th of the month, but running through for the rest of the month. It's going to come back in July, August and September. So it's going to be quite dominant through the summer, this feeling of assertive, eruptive energy. Now, Mars is also going to be staying in Aquarius for 6 months until November, once it moves in on the 15th of the month. That is highly unusual. It's going to be retrograde for a lot of that period through the summer, which means it's going to be very close to the Earth in its orbit. But normally Mars will stay in a sign for 4 to 6 weeks, not 6 months. So see where Aquarius falls in your chart. And that will be an area of a lot of change and a lot of activity over the next few months, running up until November and indeed beyond. See where Uranus is going to be falling in your chart as it moves into Taurus, because this is a radical shift in energy. Wherever it's falling in your chart, and it's only going to be moving between 29 of Aries and 6 of Taurus, all the way up until April 2020. It's just going to be moving back and forwards in that very narrow range. So if you have any planets 0 to 6 degrees for the fixed signs that are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you may be strongly feeling this Aquarian influence, which is about sudden and radical change. Wherever Uranus lands in your chart as it moves into Taurus, that is about a desire for freedom, a desire for newness, variety, breaking out of the box. It wants to break up staleness, routine, anything that's become deadening. It wants to shake it up. And you either do that very consciously using Uranian energy, or sudden change will come to you from the outside. But that's going to be a big theme because Uranus is going to stay in Taurus until November this year. It's going to retrograde back to late Aries, and then it's going to fully move into Taurus in March next year and stay there until 2026. Very long time. Uranus is a very slow-moving planet. As I say, it has an 84-year orbit, but ironically, although it's slow moving, it always has the effect of speeding things up. Things don't evolve with Uranus. They are revolutionary and quantum jumps in your life. It's not a smooth transition at all. It's the planet of surprises. It's the planet of the unexpected. So we are going to have a lot of really enormously big leaps in our society, our finance, many aspects of society that I'm going to be talking about mainly in that separate video. So, but coming back to the new moon, which happens on the same day, and that's remarkable really, because as Uranus moves into Taurus, we have the new moon in Taurus. And the new moon happens at 24 degrees and 36 minutes of Taurus. It happens at 4:47 a.m. Pacific and 12:47 p.m. UK time. So this new moon is a new beginning for you. See where 24 of Taurus falls in your chart. And it's always the best time to set a new intention for yourself. So where does that 24 of Taurus fall in your chart? Is it the 4th house? Are you thinking of doing something new in the home or even moving home? Is it falling in your 10th house? There's a new opportunity coming up in your work or even a new job. Seeing where it falls in your chart can help you set the new intention of what you want to attract to yourself. And it can help to magnetize what is naturally flowing for you. You have the cosmic winds behind you, as it were. So it's a great time to do that. Now, Taurus is all about the Earth, and the Earth is very heavily emphasized at this new moon. We have 6 planets in Earth. We have the Sun, the Moon, Mercury in Taurus. We have Mars, Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, only just because Mars is right at the end of Capricorn, but it emphasises Earth. We also have Ceres, the asteroid of Mother Earth and agriculture, conjunct the North Node in Leo. And the fact that Uranus is also moving into Taurus, an Earth sign, and we already have 2 very heavyweight outer planets, Saturn and Pluto, in Capricorn, there is a heavy, heavy emphasis in Earth. So, ecology, environment, climate, sudden Earth changes are going to be big, big news this year. Usually when Uranus changes sign, there is what I call a signature event. For instance, when it moved into Aries, which was on the 11th of March 2011, we had Fukushima. We had something eruptive, Uranus. It was very fiery with the whole nuclear meltdown at Fukushima, and that was exact on the day that Uranus moved into Aries. So we should expect to see something quite sudden, quite eruptive, disruptive, probably linked to climate or the earth or earthquakes or volcanoes or that type of sudden event. May also be financial as well. I'll talk about that in the separate video. But it is likely to be earth-based in some way. If you look at the pattern of earthquakes, they happen most generally when Uranus is in a fixed sign, and particularly when it's coming together with a sign like Taurus, because they are odd bedfellows, if you like. They are odd bedfellows because Taurus is fixed Earth. It wants to keep things as they are, wants to keep things steady. I always think of a cow chewing its cud in a meadow. It just wants to keep things peaceful, happy, calm. Whereas Uranus is the maverick. It wants to disrupt. It wants to break everything up. The last thing it wants is stability. It wants evolutionary revolutionary change in certain areas, which is why it's now coming into Taurus to shake up a lot of things for us. So they are strange bedfellows, and that creates a lot of actual tension because as Taurus is the planet most associated with resistance to keep things as they are, whereas Uranus is a planet of extremism, wanting to shake it all up. So that creates even more tension. So we are very likely, I think, to see earthquakes, volcanoes, earth changes coming along over the years up to 2026, but maybe particularly during 2018. I think the other very important thing to say about this new moon is that it is tightly square to the total solar eclipse that we had 21st of August last year, which was at 28 of Leo, and it's also square to the solar eclipse that we had on the 15th of February this year at 27 of Aquarius. So it's another step in whatever your theme is over these 18 months or so of Leo Aquarius eclipses. Now, I've mentioned before that each of us has a theme that is unfolding during these pairs of eclipses. So the Leo-Aquarius pairing of eclipses started in February 2017 and is going through until the last one will be in August this year, the last Leo eclipse. So where is that falling? Where are Leo and Aquarius falling in your chart? Are they 3rd and 9th houses? Are they about communication or friends or publishing or writing or studying or foreign matters or legal matters? You know, what is the theme? Is it 4th and 10th? Is it around home and work balance? Seeing where these fall in your chart enable you to live more deeply because you understand the unfolding theme. And even between the eclipses over that 18-month period, certain new moons and full moons can also pick up on that theme. And this new moon at 24 of Taurus is doing exactly that. So what is this new step that you're taking that is still part of that overall theme in the eclipses from February 2017? What was beginning for you then that is still moving forwards at this new moon? And maybe to set your intention in line to help unfold that personal theme for you. It's so great when you see that, because it just takes you to a whole another level in how you understand astrology. So some wonderful things to think about at this abundant new moon, coming up in Taurus on the 15th, and really be out there celebrating nature, indulge in nature, meditate in nature, write poetry, read poetry, listen to music, or just absorb and really soak in all the beauty, the colour, the abundance that this earth offers to us, all her natural bounty. Wonderful time to celebrate that and to clearly set your new intention. Okay, thanks so much for listening, and bye for now.